Welcome back to Jeremy Reads Aloud Self-Help Books. We've been reading the book King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. The book written by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. I encourage you to get the book yourself. Click the link in the description for the Amazon link. We're continuing on our reading of this book. On page 43, chapter 4, Man Psychology. We just finished Boy Psychology, chapter 3. Now we're reading chapter 4, Man Psychology. Here we go. We have time for this chapter. It is a brief chapter. Man Psychology. It is enormously difficult for a human being to develop to full potential. The struggle with the infantile within us exerts a tremendous gravitational pull against achieving the full adult potential. Nevertheless, we need to fight gravity by dint of hard labor, and to build the pyramids of first boyhood and then manhood that constitute the core structures, of our masculine selves. The ancient Maya seldom destroyed earlier structures from their cities' pasts. Like them, we do not want to demolish the pyramids of boyhood, for they were and will always remain generators of power and gateways to energy resources from our primordial past. But we need to get to work laying courses of stone over these old terraces and stairs. We need to build brick by brick toward the goal of mature masculinity till at last we can stand on the high platform at the top, surveying our realm as quote-unquote Lord of the Four Quarters. There are a number of techniques we can use in this construction project. Analysis of dreams, the re-entering and changing of our dreams, active imagination, in which the ego, among other things, dialogues with the energy patterns within, thereby achieving both differentiation from and access to them. Psychotherapy in a variety of forms. Meditation on the positive aspects of the archetypes. Prayer, magical ritual process with a spiritual elder. Various forms of spiritual discipline and other methods are all important to the difficult process of turning boys into men. The four major forms of the mature masculine energies that we have identified, are the king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover. They, page 44, they all overlap and ideally enrich one another. A good king is always also a warrior, a magician, and a lover. And the same holds true for the other three. The boy energies also overlap and inform each other. As we've seen, the divine child naturally gives rise to the Oedipal child. Together, they form the nucleus of whatever will be beautiful, energetic, related, warm, caring, and spiritual in the man. The boy's ego needs the precocious child's perceptiveness, to help it to distinguish itself from these energies. And all three give rise to the hero, which breaks them free of the domination of the quote-unquote feminine unconscious and establishes the boy's identity as a separate individual. The hero prepares the boy to become a man. The archetypes are mysterious entities or energy flows. They have been compared to a magnet beneath a sheet of paper. As iron filings are sprinkled over the top of the paper, they immediately arrange themselves into patterns along the lines of magnetic force. We can see the patterns of the filings on the paper, but we can't see the magnet underneath the paper. Or, better, we can never see the magnetic force itself, only the visible evidence of its existence. The same is true of archetypes. They remain hidden, but we experience their effects in art, in poetry, in music, in religion, in our scientific discoveries, in our patterns of behavior and of thought and feeling. All the products of human creativity and human interaction are like the iron filings. We can see something of the shapes and patterns of the archetypes through these manifestations, but we can never see the quote-unquote energies themselves. They overlap and interpenetrate one another, yet they can be distinguished from one another for purposes of clarification. Through active imagination, they can be remixed so that we can realize the desired balance among their influences in our own lives. Jean Shinoda Bolin has usefully suggested that we think of this process, untangling and isolating the archetypes, and then remixing them and blending them. Blending them as a well-run board meeting. Here, the chair asks each of the officers to speak his or her mind honestly and openly about the question at hand. A good chair always wants the full input with reasons why from each of the people that make up the board. Some opinions will be unpopular, some seemingly downright dumb. Some board members may habitually seem depreciating and destructive. Page 45. Others may frequently come up with brilliant ideas. It is the advice of the latter that is usually followed, though sometimes the words of truth are really spoken by the disgruntled and negative board members. But after all opinions have been heard and the matter has been thoroughly discussed, the chair calls for a vote, and the decision is made. Often the chair must cast the deciding vote. Our egos are like the chair of the board, and the board members are the archetypes within us. Each needs to be heard from. Each needs to stand on its own and provide us input. But the whole person under the supervision of the ego needs to make the final decisions in our lives. Man psychology, as we have suggested, has perhaps always been a rare thing on our planet. It is certainly a rare thing today. The horrible physical and psychological circumstances under which most human beings have lived most places, most of the time, are staggering. Hostile environments always lead to the stunting, twisting, and mutating of an organism. Why this should be so is the stuff which philosophy and theology are made. Let us frankly admit the enormous difficulty of our situation, for it is only when we allow ourselves to see the seriousness of any problem and to admit what it is we are up against that we can begin to take appropriate action. Action that will be life enhancing for us and for others. There's a saying in psychology that we have to take responsibility for what we're not responsible for. This means that we are not responsible, as no infant is, for what happened to us to stunt us and to fixate us in our early years when our personalities were formed and when we got stuck in immature levels of masculinity. Yet it does us no good to join the chorus of the delinquents in West Side Story as they plead their case against society and leave things at that. Ours is a psychological age rather than an institutional one. What used to be done for us by institutional structures and through ritual process, we now have to do inside ourselves, for ourselves. Ours is a culture of the individual rather than the collective. Our Western civilization pushes us to strike out on our own, to become, as Jung said, quote unquote, individuated from each other. That which used to be more or less unconsciously shared by everyone, like the process of developing a mature masculine identity, we now must connect with consciously and individually. It is to this task that we now turn. Page 46. We're going to take a little break here. Part 2 will be the next chapter we read. Part 2, Decoding the Male Psyche, the 4 Archetypes of the Mature Masculine. Chapter 5, The King, on page 49. Thank you for watching, folks. Tune in next video. I'll be reading this. The book is King, Warrior, Magician, Lover by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. Get the book yourself. Click the Amazon link in the description. Thank you for watching, folks. Have a transformative and maturing week ahead. I'll see you real soon. Bye.